The message came through every communication channel at once. Ambassador Chen Wei was drinking her morning coffee when the screens in her office lit up with red alerts. She set down her cup and listened. "This is Valara Prime. We are under attack. Please, someone help us." The voice belonged to a Valarix named Sela. Chen had met her once at a diplomatic dinner. She remembered Sela's gentle smile and how she had been fascinated by Earth's flowers. Now that same voice was breaking with fear. Chen ran to the council chambers. The massive room was already filling with representatives from 47 different species. The Galactic Council had governed this part of space for over 800 years. In all that time, there had been no wars, no violence, just peace and talking and more talking. Chancellor Threvenak stood at the center podium. He was an Alvorian, tall and thin with silver skin that glowed slightly. He had been alive for 300 years and believed that every problem could be solved with words. "My friends," the Chancellor said, raising his long arms, "we face a crisis. Our Valarix brothers and sisters are in danger. But we must not panic. We must respond with wisdom." Another transmission played on the main screen. It showed a city burning. Ships in the sky were firing down at buildings. People were running and screaming. Then the transmission cut out. The room went silent. Chen felt her hands curl into fists. She had been a Marine before becoming an ambassador. She knew what an attack looked like. This was not a border dispute or a trade disagreement. This was war. "We must send help immediately," said Ambassador Kiron from the Delthac species. His four eyes blinked rapidly with distress. "Of course," Chancellor Threvenak agreed. "We will send our finest diplomatic team. And humanitarian supplies. Food, medicine, shelter material, diplomats," Chen heard herself say. Everyone turned to look at her. "Yes, Ambassador Chen, we will talk to these attackers. Surely there is a misunderstanding. Perhaps a territorial claim or resource dispute. All conflicts can be resolved peacefully." Chen stared at him. "Chancellor, with respect, those ships are bombing cities. They are killing civilians. They are not interested in talking." The Chancellor's expression remained calm. "That is exactly why we must talk to them. Violence only creates more violence. We must show them a better way." The Council voted. 45 voted to send a peace delegation. Only Chen and one other representative voted against it. Chen was from Earth, the newest member of the Galactic Council. The others still called humans Deathworlders, because Earth was classified as a Class 12 hazard world. High gravity, dangerous weather, poisonous plants, aggressive animals. Most species considered Earth a nightmare planet. Chen watched as they planned the peace mission. They would bring gifts, cultural exchange materials, experts in conflict resolution. The ship would leave in 2 hours. "How fast can the ship get there?" Chen asked. 14 days at standard cruise speed, the Chancellor answered. "Can it go faster?" Ambassador Chen's speed would appear aggressive. "We want to show peaceful intentions." Chen closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then she stood up. "I need to step out. Technical difficulties with my translator." It was a lie. Her translator worked perfectly, but she needed to make a call that the Council could not hear. She went to a private communication room and activated her secured line to Earth. The face of Admiral Jackson appeared on the screen. He was old, scarred, and had kind eyes. "Admiral," Chen said quietly, "we have a situation." She explained everything. The Admiral listened without interrupting. When she finished, he nodded. "How long until the Council's ship arrives?" 14 days. "And the people being attacked have 14 days to survive?" "No, sir. Based on the transmission, I would guess they have maybe 3 or 4 days before the colony is completely destroyed." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. "The Council won't like this." "No, sir, they won't, but those people need help now, not in 2 weeks, and yes, sir." "All right. We will send help." Admiral Jackson out. The screen went dark. Chen sat there for a moment, knowing what she had just done. The Council would be furious. They might kick Earth out of the galactic community. They might impose sanctions. But she had been a Marine before she was an ambassador. She knew the most important rule: you do not abandon people who need help. She walked back to the Council chambers. The peace delegation was loading their ship. Diplomats in colorful robes were boarding with boxes of gifts and cultural materials. Musicians were bringing instruments. It all seemed very ceremonial and proper. Chen found Chancellor Threvenak. "I hope your delegation succeeds," she said honestly. "Thank you, Ambassador. I understand this is difficult for your people to accept. Humans have not yet learned that violence is never the answer. But you will learn in time that peace is always possible. Chen nodded and said nothing. She had learned a different lesson in her life. Sometimes peace was only possible because someone was willing to fight for it. That night, while the Council's peace ship traveled slowly toward Valara Prime, 5 human warships activated their engines in orbit around Earth. The UEN's Indomitable, a heavy carrier, the UEN's Thermopylae, a battlecruiser, the UEN's Soul's Fury, a destroyer, the UN's Tenochtitlan, an assault ship, and the UN's Edinburgh, a stealth frigate. They pushed their engines hard, going faster than was safe. They would reach Valara Prime in 6 days. In the council chambers, someone noticed the unusual energy signatures leaving Earth's system. An investigation was launched. By morning, the council knew what humanity had done. Ambassador Chen was summoned. She stood before the council as they shouted accusations. This is exactly why we were afraid to let Deathworlders join us. Humanity cannot be trusted. They are warmongers. Chen waited until they were quiet. Then she spoke in a clear, steady voice. You sent negotiators to people who are dying. We sent soldiers. Let us see who saves more lives. The council voted to formally censure humanity. Economic sanctions were discussed. But the vote did not matter anymore. The human fleet was already on its way. And in space, time mattered more than votes. The council's peace ship traveled through space at a comfortable speed. Inside, the diplomatic team prepared for their mission. Ambassador Celine was a member of the aviary species, with beautiful feathers that changed color with her emotions. Right now, they were a calm blue. She sat with her team reviewing their approach strategy. They had brought gifts from 12 different cultures. They had translation software for 8,000 languages. They had experts who had studied conflict resolution for decades. We must understand their perspective, Celine said to her team. Every species has reasons for their actions. Perhaps the attackers feel threatened. Perhaps they need resources. Once we understand them, we can find a peaceful solution. Her team nodded in agreement. They practiced their greeting speeches. They prepared presentations about the benefits of joining the galactic community. They were very thorough and very patient. Should we increase our speed? Asked the ship's captain, a cautious being named Prolt. The colony is in danger. No, Celine said gently. Speed might seem aggressive. We must approach with open hands and peaceful intentions. Besides, we want to save fuel. The return journey will be long. Meanwhile, the human fleet was pushing their engines to the limit. Warning lights flashed on every bridge. Engineers worked constantly to keep the ships from tearing apart. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Fleet Admiral Marcus Jackson studied the tactical displays. He was 63 years old and had spent 40 years in Earth's Navy. His hair was gray and his face had many scars. Status report, he ordered. We are at 115% engine capacity, his chief engineer reported. We can maintain this for maybe 3 more days before we risk core damage. We only need 3 days to reach Valara Prime. Keep pushing. Around him, the crew worked at their stations. Pilots ran combat simulations in the flight pods. Marines practiced boarding maneuvers. Everyone knew what was coming. Jackson pulled up the latest intelligence reports. They did not have much information about the attackers. The transmissions from Valara Prime had been brief and chaotic. But they had managed to identify the enemy ships. They belonged to something called the Kresh Collective. Sir, we have almost nothing on these Kresh, said his intelligence officer, Commander Park. They appear in our database only twice, both times as rumors from the outer colonies. What kind of rumors? Ships that appeared, attacked mining stations, stole everything valuable, then disappeared. No communication, no demands, just violence and theft. Jackson nodded slowly. Raiders then, pirates. They prey on the weak. It appears so, sir. Have they ever fought a real military force? Unknown, sir. But based on the Council's history, they probably have not encountered organized resistance in this region. The Council has not fought a war in 800 years. Jackson allowed himself a small, grim smile. Then they are about to get a very unpleasant surprise. Back on the Council's peace ship, Celine received an update from Valara Prime. The transmission was audio only and very weak. This is Valara Prime. 3 cities have fallen. They are not responding to our hails. They just keep attacking. Please hurry. Celine's feathers turned gray with distress. Send them a message. Tell them help is coming. Tell them to try offering the attackers resources, perhaps trade negotiations. The communication officer sent the message. There was no response. 8 days had passed since the attack began. The Council's ship was still 6 days away. The human fleet was now just hours from Valara Prime. On Earth, the news had spread quickly. Every major city held vigils for the Valarix people. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 3 years, but they had grown fond of the gentle Valarix. The Valarix loved art and music and growing things. They reminded humans of the best parts of themselves. The United Earth government made an announcement. Every combat-capable ship in the solar system was being mobilized. They would follow the first fleet as soon as possible. The Galactic Council was furious. They held emergency sessions. They accused humanity of warmongering, of threatening the peace, of being too primitive to understand civilized behavior. Ambassador Chen stood before them again. This time she did not look apologetic or concerned. She looked angry. "You sit here talking while people die," she said. Her voice was cold and sharp. "You debate proper procedures while children burn. You are so proud of your 800 years of peace, but you know what that peace really is? It is luck. You have been lucky that no one evil came along. Well, guess what? Your luck just ran out. Ambassador Chen, you are out of order," Chancellor Threvenak said. "We must follow proper protocols." "Protocols?" Chen laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Tell me, Chancellor, what is the protocol for when someone is murdering innocent people? Talk to them nicely? Offer them a treaty? Give them a participation medal? Ambassador, your species is too young to understand. Violence only creates more violence. If we respond with military force, we will start a war that could last generations." Chen leaned forward. "You already have a war, Chancellor. You just do not want to fight it. You want someone else to do the fighting for you. Well, congratulations. You found someone, us, the Deathworlders. We will do what you cannot." She turned and walked out of the council chambers. Behind her, the other ambassadors erupted in angry voices. On Valara Prime, the survivors huddled in underground shelters. Sela held her daughter close as the ground shook from another explosion above. Her daughter was crying. "When is help coming, Mama?" Sela did not know what to say. The council had sent a message saying their peace delegation was coming. But that had been days ago, and the attacks had only gotten worse. Through a cracked window, Sela could see the sky. More ships had arrived. Not rescue ships. More attackers. They were methodical and efficient, destroying one district at a time. "Mama, I am scared." "I know, little one. I know." Then something appeared on the shelter's emergency display. It was a new transmission, but not from the council. "Attention, Valara Prime. This is Fleet Admiral Marcus Jackson of the United Earth naval ship Indomitable. We have 5 warships entering your system. Hold on. The cavalry is coming." Sela did not understand the word cavalry, but she understood the tone. It was not the gentle, careful tone of the council's diplomats. It was the voice of someone coming to fight. The 5 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valara system. On every bridge, sensors immediately lit up with targets. 43 hostile ships in orbit around Valara Prime, reported the tactical officer on the Indomitable. They are in a loose formation, still bombarding the surface. Fleet Admiral Jackson studied the display. The Kresh ships were large and angular, covered in dark metal. They moved slowly, confidently. They had no idea they were being watched. Status of the colony: 4 of the 7 cities show no life signs. The remaining 3 are under heavy fire. Estimate civilian casualties at over 2 million and climbing. Jackson felt rage burn in his chest, but his voice stayed calm. "Communication broadcast on all frequencies. Let everyone hear this. Channel open, sir. Kresh vessels, this is Fleet Admiral Marcus Jackson of the United Earth naval ship Indomitable. You are hereby ordered to cease fire immediately and withdraw from this system. You have 30 seconds to comply." On the Kresh command ship, War Leader Thex heard the transmission. He looked at his tactical display. 5 small ships against his 43. He began to laugh. "What species is this, Earth? I have never heard of them." His second officer checked the database. "They are new to the council. Classified as Deathworlders, high-gravity world. They joined only 3 years ago." "Deathworlders?" Thex laughed harder. "So they think they are tough. 5 ships. They must be stupid as well as ugly." He opened a channel. "Earth ships, leave now or be destroyed. This is our prize. We claimed it. Go play with the council's diplomats." On the Indomitable, Jackson heard the response. He looked at his watch. 30 seconds are up. All ships, you are weapons-free. Show them what happens when you attack the innocent. The battle began instantly. The stealth frigate Edinburgh had been invisible to Kresh sensors. It suddenly appeared inside their formation, decloaking right next to 3 Kresh destroyers. At point-blank range, it fired antimatter torpedoes. The explosion lit up space like a new sun. The 3 Kresh ships simply ceased to exist. The Kresh fleet scrambled to react, but the humans were already moving. The Thermopylae and Soul's Fury came screaming in at speeds that should have torn them apart. Their railguns opened fire, launching solid metal slugs at a fraction of light speed. The kinetic weapons punched through Kresh shields like they were paper. One Kresh cruiser split in half. Another lost its entire front section. "What kind of weapons are those?" Thex shouted. "Shields should stop them." "They are using kinetic rounds, sir." "Physical projectiles. No one has used such primitive weapons in centuries. Our shields are designed for energy weapons," Thex snarled. "Then adapt." "Return fire!" The Kresh fleet began firing back with their plasma cannons. They had the numbers advantage. 40 ships against 5. Slowly, they began to surround the human fleet. On the indomitable Admiral Jackson watched the tactical display. "Launch all fighters. Alpha and Beta wings hit their flanks. Charlie wing, protect the Tenochtitlan." The carrier's launch bays opened. 150 small fighters poured out like angry hornets. They moved in perfect formation, then broke apart into attack groups. The Kresh had never seen fighters like this. The human pilots pulled maneuvers that generated 8, 9, sometimes 10 times Earth's gravity. The G-forces would have killed any other species. But humans came from a heavy gravity world. Their bodies could take it. The fighters swarmed over the Kresh ships, targeting engines and weapons. They were too small and fast for the big guns to track. On Valara Prime, Sela and the other survivors watched the battle through their instruments. They had never seen violence like this. The council races had forgotten how to fight. "But these humans, these Deathworlders, they fought like demons. Are they going to save us?" her daughter asked. "I think so, little one. I really think so." But the battle was not going well for the humans. They were outnumbered 8-1. The Soul's Fury took a plasma blast to its engines and went dark. The Thermopylae was surrounded by 6 Kresh ships and taking heavy damage. On the assault ship Tenochtitlan, Captain Okonkwo saw the situation. 7 Kresh ships were moving to surround them, trying to cut them off from the rest of the fleet. "Captain, we should retreat," his tactical officer said. "We cannot win this engagement." Captain Okonkwo looked at the display showing Valara Prime. Millions of people down there were depending on them. He thought about his own children back on Earth. He thought about what kind of galaxy he wanted them to grow up in. "No," he said quietly. "We do not retreat. Helm, take us straight into their formation. Full speed." "Sir, that is suicide. That is an order." The Tenochtitlan accelerated directly toward the Kresh ships. They fired everything, but the assault ship kept coming. It was heavily armored, built to deliver Marines into combat. It could take damage, and it did. Plasma blasts ripped through its armor. Hull breaches appeared on every deck. But it did not stop. "Distance to Kresh flagship 200 meters, the helm reported. "Marines, prepare for boarding action," Captain Okonkwo ordered. "Boarding action?" The tactical officer looked shocked. "No one does boarding actions anymore. It is considered too dangerous." "Too barbaric," Captain Okonkwo smiled. "Good thing we are Deathworlders then. Launch all assault pods." The Tenochtitlan got within 100 meters of the Kresh flagship and launched 40 assault pods. Each pod held 30 Marines in full combat armor. They crossed the gap in seconds and slammed into the Kresh hull. Cutting lasers burned through the metal. The Marines poured into the enemy ship. War leader Thex could not believe what he was seeing. "They are boarding us." "Who boards ships in this age?" "The humans do, sir." Inside the Kresh flagship, the battle was brutal and close. The Marines moved through corridors, fighting room by room. The Kresh were strong and vicious, but the humans were stronger. Earth's gravity had made them that way. Sergeant Maria Santos kicked open a door and threw a flashbang grenade. The explosion blinded the Kresh inside. Her squad moved in, weapons firing. It was violent and terrible and necessary. Deck by deck, she shouted to her Marines. "We take this ship and we end this battle." On the indomitable, Admiral Jackson saw what was happening. The Kresh fleet was in chaos. They were trying to help their flagship, breaking formation. It was the opening he needed. "All ships concentrate fire on their command cluster. Hit them now while they are disorganized." The human fleet poured everything they had into the Kresh center. Ships exploded. Others broke apart. The crash formation collapsed. Then the sensors detected something new. "Admiral, we have new contacts," the tactical officer reported. His voice was shaking. "Long-range sensors show a massive fleet approaching. 300-plus ships. They will be here in 3 days." Jackson felt his blood run cold. This was not the main attack. This had just been the scouting force. "Get me the Galactic Council," he said. "Right now." The emergency council session was chaos. The main screen showed footage from the battle. Explosions, human fighters, Marines boarding enemy ships. Violence on a scale the council had not seen in centuries. Chancellor Threvnak watched with his mouth open. "This is barbaric. This is exactly what we feared." "But it worked," said Ambassador Kieran quietly. "Look, the Kresh fleet is retreating. 20 ships destroyed, the rest running. The humans saved Valara Prime. At what cost?" The Chancellor pointed at the casualty reports. 2 human ships destroyed. Thousands dead. Is this what we want? To return to an age of war? Ambassador Chen's image appeared on the screen. She was transmitting from the Indomitable. Behind her, the bridge was damaged. Crew members were working on sparking consoles. The lights flickered. "Council, we do not have time for debate," Chen said. "Long-range sensors have detected the main Kresh fleet. 300 ships. They will be here in 3 days." The council chamber went silent. 300? Someone whispered. "That is impossible," Chancellor Threvnak said. "No one has fleets that large." "Not anymore." "The Kresh do." Fleet Admiral Jackson appeared beside Chen on the screen. His uniform was torn and bloody, but his eyes were sharp. "They have been building in secret for years, raiding the outer colonies, growing stronger. This system was supposed to be easy prey. We surprised them. But now they will come with everything." "What can we do?" asked Ambassador Celine. She had just received the news that her peace ship was still 5 days away. 5 days too late. Her feathers were pale with shock. "Fight," Jackson said simply. "Or run. Those are your options." "We are not warriors," the Chancellor protested. "We are scholars, artists, diplomats. We have no weapons, no training." "Then learn fast," Chen said. "Because in 3 days the Kresh will be here. And they will not negotiate," Jackson leaned forward. "Council, I need you to send every ship you have. Every vessel that can fly. Civilian ships, cargo haulers, research vessels, anything. We will arm them and train your crews." "That is insane," the Chancellor said. "Our people do not know how to fight. You would be sending them to die. I am giving them a chance to defend themselves. Right now they have no chance at all." The Council argued for hours. Some wanted to evacuate the system entirely. Others wanted to surrender to the Kresh and hope for mercy. A very few, agreed with the humans. Finally, Ambassador Kieran stood up. He was old and had never raised his voice before. But now he shouted, "Enough! I'm ashamed of us." The Valerics called for help. "We sent diplomats. The humans sent warriors. Now millions of Valerics are alive because the humans fought." "And what do we do?" "We complain. We criticize. We hide." He pointed at the screen showing Valara Prime. "I am taking my personal ship there. Anyone who wants to live in a free galaxy should come with me." He walked out. Slowly other ambassadors followed. Not all of them, but enough. Over the next 2 days, ships began arriving at Valara Prime. Not warships. The Council did not have those. But cargo ships came, their holds empty and ready. Luxury passenger liners arrived. Their wealthy guests evacuated. Science vessels, explorer ships, even some private yachts. 120 civilian ships gathered around the battered human fleet. On the Indomitable, Admiral Jackson met with the civilian captains via hologram. He saw fear on every face. These were not soldiers. They were merchants, scientists, explorers. But they were here. "Thank you for coming," Jackson said. "I will not lie to you. This will be dangerous. Many of you will not survive. But if we do nothing, the Kresh will destroy everything you love." "What do you need us to do?" asked Captain Vorn, who commanded a bulk freighter that normally carried grain. "First, we strip out everything unnecessary. Living quarters, luxury spaces, cargo holds. We need room for weapons and armor. My engineers will help you install railguns and missile tubes. It will not be pretty, but it will work." "We do not know how to use weapons," said another captain. "My tactical officers will transfer to your ships. They will teach you. You will learn fast or you will die. Those are your choices." "I am sorry, but that is the truth." The work began immediately. Human engineers swarmed over the civilian ships, tearing out walls and installing weapon systems. The ships were not pretty when they were done, but they were armed. The training was harder. Human officers tried to teach peaceful species how to fight and kill. Some could not do it. They left, but most stayed. They learned how to target enemies, how to fire weapons, how to work together. On the third day, Chancellor Threvnak arrived with the Galactic Defense Fleet, 40 ceremonial warships that had not fought in 800 years. They were beautiful, covered in medals and decorations, but their weapons were outdated and their crews had never fired a shot in anger. The Chancellor's ship docked with the Indomitable. He walked onto the bridge and saw the human crew working frantically. They were exhausted, running on coffee and determination. "Admiral Jackson," the Chancellor said quietly, "I have come to help. I do not know if we can win, but I know we must try. The humans were right. We were wrong. Peace is not the absence of violence. It is the willingness to defend what matters." Jackson looked at the old alien with new respect. "Welcome to the fight, Chancellor." "Teach me," Threvnak said. "Teach us all. We are ready to learn." The final hours before the battle were spent in desperate preparation. Human ships from Earth began arriving, but not enough. They would have 45 human warships and 120 armed civilian vessels against 300 Kresh warships. The odds were terrible. Everyone knew it. On Valara Prime, Sela and her daughter looked up at the night sky. So many ships up there, so many brave people ready to fight for them. Will they win, Mama? Sela thought about the humans. These strange Deathworlders from their impossible planet. They had come when no one else would. They had fought when others only talked. I do not know, little one, but if anyone can win, it will be them. In space, the sensors detected the approaching fleet. 300 Kresh ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They saw the defenders waiting for them. War Leader Thex looked at his display and laughed. They stayed. Fools, we will crush them. Admiral Jackson stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and addressed all ships. This is it. This is where we make our stand. You are merchants and scientists and diplomats. You are not warriors. But today you fight like warriors. Today you defend your homes. Remember, we are outnumbered. But we are not outmatched, because we fight for something worth dying for. He paused and looked around his bridge at his tired, scared, determined crew. All ships, battle stations. Let's show them what happens when the galaxy finally fights back. The two fleets moved toward each other. 300 Kresh ships against 165 defenders. The Battle of Valara Prime began. The first minutes of the battle were pure chaos. The Kresh came in like a hammer, confident in their numbers. 300 warships against what they thought were easy targets. They learned quickly that they were wrong. The human fleet formed the center, taking the worst of the fire. The Thermopylae, already damaged from the first battle, charged straight into the Kresh formation. Its captain, Commander Singh, knew his ship would not survive. But he could make his death count. All power to forward shields, she ordered. Ram speed. The Thermopylae crashed into a Kresh battleship at full velocity. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. Singh and her entire crew died instantly, but they took 600 enemy soldiers with them. Around the humans, the civilian ships fought with desperate courage. Captain Vorn's grain freighter was not fast or pretty, but its railguns fired constantly. When his weapons overheated, he rammed his ship into a Kresh destroyer. As the ships broke apart, he was still firing. On Valara Prime, Sela's daughter watched the battle through the shelter's instruments. She saw ships exploding, so many lights going out. She was crying, "Why are they dying for us, Mama?" Sela held her child close. "Because that is what good people do." In space, a Valaric science vessel was cornered by two Kresh cruisers. The science vessel had no armor and weak weapons. Its captain, an elderly researcher named Telm, had studied stellar formation for 200 years. He had never hurt anyone. "This is the stellar wind," he transmitted to the human fleet. "We are surrounded. We cannot win." On the Indomitable, Admiral Jackson heard the transmission. "Fall back, stellar wind, save your crew." There was a pause. Then Telm's voice came back. "No, Admiral. Today I learned something more important than stars. I learned that some things are worth fighting for." The science vessel turned and accelerated directly at the nearest Kresh ship. It was not big enough to destroy the cruiser, but its impact damaged the Kresh vessel's engines. Two human fighters swooped in and finished the job. Telm and his crew of 23 scientists were gone. But they had fought. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. The space around Valara Prime became a graveyard of twisted, metal and spreading debris. Chancellor Revnak commanded his section of the defense fleet. His beautiful ceremonial warship was now scarred with weapon burns. His crew was terrified but holding their positions. Chancellor, we have 3 Kresh ships approaching, his tactical officer reported. Revnak thought about his 300 years of life, years spent in peaceful debate and gentle negotiation. He thought about how proud he had been of the Council's 800 years without war. He had been wrong. Peace without the strength to defend it was just waiting to be conquered. Target the lead ship, he ordered. Fire everything. The Soul's Fury, down to emergency power, drifted near a cluster of Kresh ships. The crew had evacuated 2 other vessels, but Captain Martinez had stayed behind with a small team. Reactors set to overload in 60 seconds, his engineer reported. Good. Let's get close to that Kresh carrier. They used the last of their fuel to drift closer. 40 seconds, 30. The Kresh did not even see them, thinking the ship was just another piece of debris. 20 seconds. 10. It has been an honor, sir, his engineer said. The honor was mine, Martinez replied. The Soul's Fury exploded like a small sun. The Kresh carrier and 3 nearby ships were caught in the blast. None survived. On the human side, ships were dying. The Edinburgh, the stealth frigate that had started the first battle, was cut in half by plasma fire. The Tenochtitlan, already damaged from boarding the Kresh flagship, finally gave up. Its hull split open and the void claimed it, but the Kresh were dying too. The civilian ships fought like cornered animals. They had no training, no experience, but they had courage, and they had human tactical officers on every bridge, teaching them how to survive. The tide began to turn when the Indomitable made its final move. Admiral Jackson saw that the Kresh were concentrated in the center, focused on destroying the strongest human ships. That left their flanks exposed. All remaining ships follow my lead, he ordered. We are going straight through their center. Sir, the Indomitable is barely holding together, his chief engineer protested. 1 more major hit and we are finished. Then we make it count. Helm, full speed, right down their throat. The massive carrier, its armor broken and systems failing, accelerated into the heart of the Kresh fleet. Every weapon it had fired at once. Its fighter wings, down to 30 planes, flew ahead, clearing the path. Behind the Indomitable came every ship that could still fly. Human, Valarix, Alvorian, Delthak, 100 ships following the flagship into hell. The Kresh formation broke. They had never faced an enemy willing to sacrifice everything. Their war leader, Thex, screamed orders, but his fleet was in chaos. They are insane. No one fights like this. His second officer looked at the display. Sir, we have lost over 200 ships. Our losses are unsustainable. Request permission to withdraw. Thex looked at the human flagship. It should have been destroyed 10 times over. But it kept coming, kept fighting. He finally understood. These were not like the other council races. These were predators, and he had made the mistake of attacking their friends. Retreat, he ordered. Full withdrawal. The remaining Kresh ships turned and ran. They left behind their dead and disappeared into faster-than-light travel. The Battle of Valara Prime was over. The silence after the battle was strange. Humans were used to the sounds of war, but now there was just the quiet hum of damaged engines and the gentle breathing of exhausted crews. Admiral Jackson stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. Half his crew was dead. 3/4 of his fleet was destroyed. He had sent 40,000 people to their deaths, but Valara Prime still stood. The Valarics were saved. Ambassador Chen appeared on his screen. The council wants to talk to us. Jackson sighed. Are they going to yell at us again? No, I think they want to say thank you. The council assembled an emergency session. Every species was there. Chancellor Threvnak stood at the center podium, but his usual calm was gone. His silver skin was dull with exhaustion. Today, he began, his voice shaking, we learned what 800 years of peace had made us forget. Peace is not granted. It is defended. We call the humans Deathworlders as an insult. They accepted it as a responsibility. He looked directly at Admiral Jackson's image on the screen. You fought for us when we would not fight for ourselves. You taught us that sometimes violence is necessary to stop greater violence. The Council formally apologizes to humanity and thanks you. 6 months later, things had changed. The galaxy was different now. Admiral Jackson visited the military cemetery on Valara Prime. Row after row of markers, both human and alien. 40,000 humans had died, another 30,000 from other species. The cost of freedom. Sela approached him, her daughter at her side. "Admiral, my child wanted to meet you." The little girl looked up at the human warrior with wide eyes. "Are you going to conquer us now?" Jackson knelt down so he was at her level. "No, little one. We fight to protect people, not to rule them. Why did you come help us?" Jackson thought about that. "Because that is what good people do. We help those who cannot help themselves." Later, he stood with Ambassador Chen on a hill overlooking the capital city. It was being rebuilt better and stronger. "The council is forming a real military," Chen said. "They want us to train them. Are we ready for that responsibility?" "We don't have a choice. The Kresh are still out there. And there might be others like them." Jackson nodded. "Then we train them. We teach them to fight, but we also teach them when not to fight. The Deathworlders become teachers. The Deathworlders become protectors. There is a difference. In space, the new UENS Indomitable II launched from Earth's orbit. Its crew was mixed, humans and aliens working together. Learning from each other, the humans taught tactics and courage. The aliens taught restraint and wisdom. The galaxy had called for peace. Humanity had sent warships. And in doing so, they had saved peace itself. The monument on Velara Prime stood tall in the central square. It showed a human marine and a Velaric citizen standing together, looking toward the stars. The inscription read, "When words failed, warriors spoke. When darkness came, Deathworlders brought light. May we never forget the price of peace or those who paid it."